Hi guys, I'm Drutska and today we are diving into a big question. Did Trump actually call Putin? The New York Post claims he did, but let's see what's really going on and make sure you watch until the end because I will also explain why Trump is so interested in Ukraine's rare earth metals in exchange for aid. I will break down how much we have, what these metals are worth, and how big the deal is. Oh, and there's more. Russian spy drones are flying over NATO territory, snooping while NATO instructors train Ukrainians on high-tech weapons. And surprisingly, not. NATO can't seem to do anything about it. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Go ahead and like this video and send it to a friend before we get started. The New York Post claims that Trump admitted to speaking with Putin in an exclusive interview aboard his plane on Friday. Allegedly, he said the conversation was about finding a way to end the war in Ukraine. When asked how many times he spoke with Putin, Trump responded with a classic non answer: better if I don't say that. He then went on to say that Putin wants to see people stop dying, which is bullshit, and that the war would never happen if Trump was president back then. Trump also repeated his usual claims that he had a good relationship with Putin, unlike his predecessors, and that he has a concrete plan to end the war. He said, I hope it's fast. Every day people are dying. This war is so bad in Ukraine. I want to end this damn thing. At one point, he even turned to his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, and said, let's start these meetings. They want to meet everyday young, beautiful soldiers are dying, great kids like my sons, on both sides, across the battlefield, he said. Sounds dramatic, but here is the catch. Nowhere in the article is there a clear direct quote from Trump confirming that the call actually happened. Yet, media outlets ran with it as if it was a done deal. Meanwhile, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov gave a very on-brand response. Speaking to Russian state media, thus, he neither confirmed nor denied the call, saying he might not be aware of it. Yes, you heard it right. Putin's press secretary is suggesting that he might not know if the Russian president had a direct conversation with the US president. He said, as the US administration settles in, there are many different communications happening through various channels. I personally may not be aware of something, so I cannot confirm or deny it. Absolute bullshit. Anyway, his strategic vagueness is actually from both sides means one thing, that there is no actual plan how to end the war yet, despite Trump claims. No arguments, no breakthroughs, at least not from the Russian side. Interestingly, in an interview yesterday, President Zelensky stated that Putin is showing zero moves towards peace. In fact, Russia is expanding its army by 100,000 troops, which obviously is not a sign of someone preparing to negotiate. Well, for Ukraine, to be honest, is a serious challenge, especially as we are already facing a difficult situation, let's say, on the battlefield. So, whether Trump really talked to Putin today is not the main subject, but one thing is clear, that Putin is preparing for more war, and no vague statements from anyone will change that for now, as we can see. Before I continue, I want to thank all of you who sent coffees on Buy Me a Coffee and become Patreons, please do so. If you want more videos on the channel, you can also help this channel by subscribing to it and like this video, because it will definitely help Ukrainian content to be seen by more people, and hopefully more people will hate Russia. I suggest you also subscribe to my Twitter page, where I post regular updates about the situation in Ukraine, and to my Instagram, where I show the daily life in Ukraine. So Trump recently hinted that he might meet with Zelensky next week. Coincidentally, next week is the Munich Security Conference, where US Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to meet with President Zelensky. As when exactly Trump and Zelensky will meet, still unclear. But here is where things get really interesting. According to the New York Post, Trump allegedly wants to strike a $500 million deal with Zelensky to access Ukraine's rare earth minerals and gas in exchange for security guarantees in any future peace settlement. Now, something feels off about this. 500 million? I really hope there is a mistake in those numbers, and I will explain why. Trump reportedly wants Ukraine to supply the US with rare earth metals, and in return he would extend support for Ukraine. Sounds straightforward, right? Well, it's not really. First, a lot of these valuable resources are located in territories occupied by Russia. Other countries are also very interested in Ukraine's mineral wealth. Ukraine holds about 5% of the world's total mineral resources, including rare earth metals, which Trump's administration seems very keen on securing. Let's break down exactly how resource-rich Ukraine is. This data comes from Telegraph, which summarized it well. So what's underground in Ukraine? Iron ore. Ukraine has massive iron ore reserves, mainly in the Kryvyi Basin, accounting for over 90% of the country's iron ore production. Total reserves, 27.4 billion tons. Titanium. Ukraine has the largest titanium reserves in Europe, about 7% of the world's supply. Titanium is crucial for aerospace, medical equipment, and high-tech industries. Manganese. Ukraine is home to some of the largest manganese deposits in the world, primarily in the Nikopol manganese basin. Uranium and rare earth metals. Ukraine has 2.3 of the world's uranium reserves and a variety of rare earth elements critical for nuclear energy and advanced technologies. Graphite. Ukraine ranks among the top 5 countries in the world for natural graphite reserves. Confirmed reserves 18 million tons, with estimated potential of 100 million tons. It is essential for batteries, lubricants, and even nuclear reactors. Lithium. Ukraine has an estimated 500,000 tons of lithium, making it one of Europe's largest lithium suppliers. It is essential for battery production. Think electric vehicles, smartphones, and energy storage. Gallium. Ukraine is the world's 5th largest producer of gallium, a key element in semiconductors. Copper and zinc. Ukraine ranks 4th in Europe for copper production and 6th for zinc production. So what does this mean? Does this mean the Ukrainian government is about to sell off its strategic natural resources to foreign companies? Not exactly. According to Babel UAE, under Ukrainian law, all mineral deposits belong to the Ukrainian people forever. However, some deposits are leased to state-owned and private companies, and there are 2 legal ways to grant access. First, auctions where special permits for resource extraction are sold. And second, production sharing agreements. Contracts where foreign and domestic companies share production rights. Ukraine's mineral wealth is massive. We're talking about trillions, not millions of dollars. If Trump really is interested in making a deal, it's not going to be for 500 million. That's a number is laughably low for what's at stake. But the biggest question remains, is this just a talk or is there an actual plan? Because so far everything suggests that no one has a clear strategy for ending this war. And meanwhile, Russia is increasing its army by another 100,000 troops. That doesn't sound like negotiations mode. It sounds like preparing for an evil being at war. And maybe not only with Ukraine. Now, before we get too excited about potential mining contracts and investment, let's remember a crucial fact. Over 70% of Ukraine's known mineral reserves are concentrated in three regions: Donetsk, Dnipropetrovsk region, and Luhansk region. Many of these territories are currently occupied by Russia. So, before anyone starts dividing up Ukraine's mineral wealth, there is still a long road ahead. Ukraine must prioritize its national interest in any resource arguments. That means building local industries, creating jobs, and ensuring that our resources don't just get extracted and shipped abroad with no long-term benefit. I mean, of course, Ukraine's independence and security are the top priority, but if this war starts turning into a conflict over resources and money, what message does that send to the democratic world, and more importantly, to us, Ukrainians, who have been fighting and suffering for 3 years to defend our freedom and our rights to decide our own future. Meanwhile, let's talk about some actual threats. According to the German publication, unidentified drones have been spotted spying on Ukrainian troops while they were training on Patriot air defense systems at a German military base. In January alone, 6 such incidents were reported. Every single attempt to shut down these drones or jam them with electronic warfare systems failed. The drones might have been launched from ships in the North or Baltic Sea, and surprise, surprise, Russia is the main suspect. So, while NATO trains Ukrainians to use some of the most advanced air defense systems in the world, Russia is watching them in real time, and no one can do anything about it. And your favorite rubrics, heroes of the so-called special military operation? And now, for our regular dose of heroes, this time comes from Tyumen Oblast of Russia. This guy signed a contract to fight in Ukraine to solve his financial problems. Then during his leave, on his own birthday, he murdered his wife because he thought she kissed a friend while dancing. As the friend, he just stood there and asked to stop. That's it for today. I want to thank all of you for supporting Ukraine, watching Ukrainian content. Please like this video, and if you really like it and you want more videos, you can support the channel's development on Patreon or buy me coffee. The empire will fall. See you soon, and Slava Ukraini! And while I was editing this video, another report came out. Russian media claims that the Trump-Putin call actually happened, citing a source in the White House. According to them, it was an unofficial conversation about peace negotiations, global security, and Russia and China's role in the Iran nuclear deal. They even claim that both sides agreed to continue contacts in preparation for future meetings. Well, let's wait for official statement from Trump and hopefully some real negotiations, not just media speculations or rumors.